I'm Ashton Addison from BlockWest Capital for Investment Pitch Media and the CryptoCoinShow. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Renç Korzay, the PrimeDAO Product Manager. I would love for you to kick it off by telling us a little bit about PrimeDAO, the DAO-to-DAO initiative, and what your platform is all about.
I think the best way to do that is before jumping into the meat of the topic, I would like to take you and the audience, a little trip down the memory lane. We go back to 2018, and in 2018, the Genesis DAO was set up as the first functioning DAO on Ethereum. And this is a disclaimer on that statement where we ignore, the Tower of Babylon situation that took place before that. But Genesis DAO had a vision of being this new type of organization, which is autonomous, playful, experimental, simple, and fluid in coordination. And one of the ideas to achieve all of that was an idea called DAO fractionalization. Now, in 2018, due to the lack of tooling, immaturity of the market, and all of that, this idea never came to life. But the vision was spot on, and that vision was seeing DAOs as not as remote or isolated or secluded nodes, but more like a networked island. They are the catalyst of trade and cultural exchange. And that is how we view DAOs from a PrimeDAO perspective. What PrimeDAO wants to be is the Schelling point of those networked islands. And I think the unique point of PrimeDAO is that there's a lot of protocols, there's a lot of DAOs out there who looks at the DAO ecosystem and goes what can I do the best for myself? What can be the best for me? In PrimeDAO, I think we are one of the few protocols that looks at the ecosystem and goes, how can we uplift the ecosystem as a whole? And I think that's the most exciting part.
Is this the perfect time for this initiative with PrimeDAO in taking DAOs to the next stage?
This is the right moment. This is the perfect moment. Whoever is involved in a DAO, whoever understands the organizational architecture, we believe that, we have this claim of being the future of organizations. But for that to happen, first we need to overperform the legacy versions. And there's a great article by Patrick, who's the co-founder of Curve Labs and one of the leads in PrimeDAO, where he kind of goes into this research and understands that, the world as we know it is currently owned by banking organizations who have ownership in each other. Now, this is not a rant, this typical rant where you go all corporations are evil kind of thing, but there's something to be learned there. There's we need to understand and we need to notice that those people and corporations that own the world, they tend to cooperate rather than compete with each other. So there's this coordination game that has led to financial institutions owning a big chunk of the world and being too big to fail. We have to ask ourselves, how do we facilitate the idea of cooperation over competition and implement this co-ownership relationship in a crypto native way? It is important to understand where we are at with centralized institutions and we're at with culturally decentralized institutions. The culture that decentralized institutions are founded on are they're inspired by the industrial era and the machine, and they are command and control hierarchies. Our culture within DAOs, within this ecosystem, is inspired by this era called regenerative era and life itself. And they should be, more responsive, more adaptive. They are living systems. And the centralized institutions have this linear thinking, and they function on the cause and effect relationship, and they feed off, predictions, and they are more fragile to systemic shocks. But on the other side, the decentralized institutions that we are trying to form should be interconnected and function on systems thinking. This is the main challenge we're trying to resolve PrimeDAO, which is enabling this, DAO-to-DAO ecosystem and collaboration.
Maybe you can talk just a slight bit of background on how long the team's been working on this and where exactly the platform is at right now.
Throughout these 1.5 years, what we have been doing is we have been doing a lot of user interviews, a lot of market research to understand the pain points and how we can uplift the system as a whole. As a labor of those user interviews, of the market research, we have been building the products that's going to help shape the DAO ecosystem to become a much more productive environment that leans on efficient communication and efficient coordination. There's this concept that I would like to touch on, goes into what you were saying. It's called squad wealth. It was brilliantly presented by our friends in Laura Lotti and Sam Hart and Toby. Basically, the theory of squad builds on self-recognition. It is not a technology. It's not about me or it's about you. It's us. It's we and it's ours. And that's our perspective to all of this. We have this incredible squad space in the DAO ecosystem, where distance is no longer a barrier, with closeness of the network space, and the communication barriers can be easily torn down. So the core of the squad production is the continuous production of the squad itself. So the more we produce, the more we uplift everything around us. And the squad production begins with the creation of processes and interfaces and products that convert creative labor into units that can be transmitted by global network participants.